like to start today's session talking about typography or fonts, as you might want to call them. So what kind of design are you going to get in your fonts? So what you can do is you go into Canva and pick a font that you might like, say, for example, Brandon Grotesque, which you'll see what it looks like in a minute. And instantly, they're going to give you a font palette that you can play with. So you've got the Brandon Grotesque there in the title, and then the complementary one that they're suggesting is Merriweather font there. And then you've got another choice, Brandon Grotesque with Petrona underneath it. And then you can see here what it might look like in a particular design type of experience. And then you've got Brandon Grotesque matched with Adobe Caslon Pro, and this is how it might look in a design type of feature. So that's how you can play around with some of the fonts that you might be interested in. But also, if you're interested in finding out about what kind of fonts might work for you, you should also download another Chrome extension called Ninja Fonts or What Font. There's a whole bunch of different kind of Chrome extensions in there. And what happens is you will open up the Chrome extension on any particular web page, and then you'll just put the cursor on top of the fonts. So here is the website for Monzo, the banking company, and you just scroll the cursor on top of the various fonts to see what particular fonts they're using. So here you can see they're using a combination of two fonts only, which is Maisonneuve, whatever how you pronounce it, and then Avenir next, Maisonneuve, and then Maisonneuve. You're not going to necessarily be able to pick up the fonts that are within designs. You'd only be able to pick up the fonts that are actually scannable by your cursor, if you see what I mean. So you can see the Maisonneuve and the Avenir font going on there. Similarly, if you want to look at Vogue, for example, they're using Domain Display and GT Walsheim. So if you go throughout all of their fonts here, Domain Display mixed with Domain Display and GT Walsheim. Okay. And then if you look at the BBC, for example, they're using the same font, which is obviously a font which is deliberately created specifically for the BBC, so that they have exclusive use, and it's called Wreath Sans. Sans normally stands for, it doesn't have any kind of little tags on the side of the little letters, you know, like for a Times New Roman. You can see that there's little tags on the side, little kind of extra flourishes on each letter. So something which has a font which says sans means there's no extra flourish on the letter. It's a kind of straight up and down type of line or circle. So they're just using the Wreath Sans all the way through all of their website. And then if you use Cafe Nero, for example, they're using two fonts. One's called Nutraface and Helvetica. Nutraface, Helvetica, and Nutraface. And then finally, if we look at McDonald's, you can see that they're using Speedy, all variations on a theme of Speedy all the way through their website. There's Big Speedy and Little Speedy, Big Speedy and Little Speedy all the way. So they've decided to just go with one particular font. It might even be a custom-made font that they use, and they're just using that one consistently throughout their website. So therefore, if you're wanting to think about fonts, you can go into Canva and look at their teaching materials, which are all about fonts, which is basically you go into Home, you go into Learn, you go into Fonts, and then they've got the ultimate guide to font pairing. So you can look at the various suggestions that they have for how you can put your fonts together. So here's an example of League Spartan which is 57 point. The 57 point is the size of it, and it's in uppercase, so therefore it's in capitals. Then this one is Libre Baskerville, which is 27 points. So it's half the size. It's put into italic as well, so it's slightly slanted to the right. And then you've got 13 point Libre Baskerville, which has not been slanted to the right with the italics. And then you can go through and see how that might actually look on a design type of environment. And then move into the next suggestion, which is Julius Sands one. Again, that's the straight up and down one without the little fancy curls on the side of the letters. 62 point uppercase, which means all capitals, matched with upper archivo narrow, 24 point uppercase, which is bold, which means it's got extra a weight put onto it as opposed to just a thin narrow one. And there's a bit of a letter spacing going in. So when you're putting their fonts together as well, you can not only decide, whether you want a thick version of it or a thin version or an italic version or an underlined version. You can also decide whether you want to have more space in between the letters as well. So you can have 110 letter space as well. And then you've got the 16 point version of the Archivo Noir. And then they move you into looking at how that might look in some kind of design environment. And then they move into the third one, etc., etc. So that's how you work out the various fonts that you need. In general, you only need 2 fonts, and occasionally you can do 3. Sometimes it's nice, particularly with social media, to mix up maybe 2 fonts like this one, and then mix it up with more of a script type of font as well. Let's see if we can find one there. These are all straight. So this for example, is not a sans type of font. That's the one that I was talking about, which is the opposite of sans, because it's got the little kind of embellishment on the sides of each of the letter. Let's see if we can find the script ones. Moving through all the various possibilities. Art for art's sake. So it's a really fantastic way of putting all your designs together and thinking carefully about what the effect it's going to have when it's put up there on social media as well as on your website. And that's why it's really, really important to think about all the different looks and feels. And that's not just the colors and the designs, but the details of the fonts as well. So here we go. We've got the script version. So this is Yellowtail script mixed with Open Sans Bold, and that's the 22 point version, which has been boldified, uppercased, and 110 letter space, and then versus the 14 point. So within Canva, you're going to have a huge variety of script type of fonts, as well as sans fonts, as well as all the various combinations in between as well. So you can have lots and lots of fun, put in the font that you fancy, and then match up with other fonts and study other designs that are being used for different brands that are similar to yours or in the same kind of family as yours, and decide which one really stands out for you. So that's how to come up with a font that's going to work particularly for your business.